Andrew Putnam. Thanks, brother. All right, the next player that I'm going to introduce, and we're going to put him kind of in the middle of a couple of more veteran kind of people, is a young man who I interviewed him 9 years ago here, up in front. He was 16 at the time. He had just won an AJGA event in Puerto Rico. And winning that event got him into the field at the Puerto Rico Open. Pretty cool for a 16-year-old, right? And that was the first time that I met Frankie. And I followed him ever since. His father, Frank, is on the Identity Sports Board, along with me and about 6 others. And it has been so much fun to watch Frankie Capan III grow into the young man that he is, and to watch his game blossom as well. He's got great stories, great things. This is his first full year on the PGA Tour, and so far, he has not missed a cut. Pretty good, right? Please welcome Frankie Capan III. Thank you. Yeah, awesome. All right, the next player we're going to introduce, this event would not be possible, literally would not be possible without him, because Aaron Baddeley for the past several years has been my go-to guy when I say, Aaron, we need to get some players to come and help do our event. And he'd say, okay, I'll text them. I couldn't say that in Australian, but that's what he says. In text, it looks English. But Aaron, many of you know, was born in New Jersey, which is almost part of America. And as a young man, he moved to Australia, grew up playing golf there, was very successful, won the Australian Masters, I believe it was. Is that right? You don't know. It's Aaron. Whatever he won. He won, but he won it as an amateur, and then he won it the next year as a professional. And just a phenomenal, phenomenal player. Lives here in Scottsdale, is so critical to what we do with Tales from the Tour, so helpful. Really a great, great man of God. And I want you to give a warm, warm welcome to Aaron Baddeley. Is Ted here?
What's that? Oh, yeah.
I had to introduce our 4th guest last, because when I walked out on stage, he wasn't here yet. Could you tell I was stalling? Just a little bit. Our 4th guest is the one who is not a professional golfer, but could have been if he had really, really wanted to be, but he didn't really, really want to be. He was a great player. He was a +4. Now, he'll tell you at some time, if you ask him, that a +4 cannot beat a +8. And these guys are like +8s. So he said, it wasn't really my job. He has a great story about how he became a caddy, and maybe he'll tell part of that, but if he doesn't, I'll tell it to you later. Great, great guy. I was with him, with Ted Scott, at an event in Alabama a couple of years ago, and he was kind enough to drive me back to the airport. And as we were driving back, I said, if this caddy gig didn't work out, you could have been a stand-up comedian. He said, that's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me. But the caddy gig did work out, because he caddied for Bubba Watson for a while, won a couple of Masters tournaments with him, and now he caddies for a guy that some of you have heard of named Scotty Scheffler. And he is not only a great caddy, he is a great human being. I'm happy to call him my friend. Please welcome Ted Scott. Good to see you. All right, we're going to do the Tails Cup, and I remember the first time that Ted Scott was here. He's been our guest a couple of times, and we said we're going to have a chipping contest. Yeah, see? Had to spring that on you the last minute. And I was standing here explaining the chipping contest, how this is going to work. And the next thing I know, I looked around, and Bads was up there stretching, getting ready for the chip. And Ted was over here picking up my bag and offering clubs to the other players. So we're going to see how this works out. Frankie has done this. Andrew's done it. You've all done this. You've all done this. So you know how it works. We have 4 buckets out there. You people with the buckets, stand up, please. And this bucket is the smallest one, but it's also the closest. And way over there, right here, and then, okay, 4 buckets. So you have to hit 1 shot to each bucket. 1 shot to each bucket. Now, Frankie, you're new on the tour, but answer this question for me. How many strokes do you take if you hit a 320-yard drive?
1.
Guy's smart. How many strokes if it's a 6-inch putt?
Still 1.
All right, still 1.
I got a question. Does he make it or miss it?
Could have been 2. Could have been 2.
He'll make it, but I was talking about me.
Yeah. So every stroke is a point here. Every shot is a point, is 1 point. You don't get more points for the bigger basket or the longer basket. You don't get less points for the shorter basket. 1 point for each. 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. Way over there, 1 point. You can go in any order you want. I got a 58 degree, I got a 54 degree, I got a 50 degree, I got a 6-iron over here. If that works for you, right? So, Andrew, you get to go first. All right. And you get 4 shots. I'll give you 4 green balls. Yeah, off that mat. And you can turn it if you want to, however you want to do it.
Might go for the easy one.
Wow. Oh, yeah. That's good. Oh, needed a little help from a friend.
You might need some more club for this.
Oh, yeah, more club. Oh, looking good. Oh. Was that close? Throw it in the basket. All right, great job. Here's what I want to know. How many points did he get? Did he get a point over here? 2 points? 2 points. 2 points. Okay, Frankie. Yeah. One for the driver. Go for the orange ball. There you go. Now, I just got to tell you a story about Frankie real quickly. Frankie was kind enough to be our guest. We'd had an event like this down in Texas, and one of our guests was Stan Utley. Some of you know Stan Utley is one of the gurus of the game in short game, right? Chipping and all that kind of stuff. So Stan gets up there and he's chipping. He was 4 for 4, right? I look over at Frankie and I say, what do you think? He said, he's just flipping it. He was just like, boom. But he did not miss, right? Pretty intimidating. Golly. All right, let's go 4. You do that now? All right, 4 for 4. That's one. Looking good. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that counts. That counts. That counts. And you get an award, too. Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's good. Okay. That went in, right, Jim? They go in? They go in? That's okay. If it goes in and comes out, it still counts. All right, here we go. Just a little off. That's a toughie. That's a toughie. Now, Aaron is so good at this that we give him the real balls. Yeah, yeah. There you go. Oh, yeah. Beauty. Beauty. Oh, yes. Oh, he got it. He got it. With a little help from my friends, yeah. I think Bad's paid him off beforehand. Yeah. Oh, no? Yes, no? Not quite. All right. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I got the yips. I'm chipping with one hand. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, one. There's one.
Sir, move the camera. 51-year-old arm. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Last time the kid didn't get a haircut. Don't worry. Get down. Jump.
Should have used that shot for that one over there.
I'm not used to playing under adrenaline.
I know.
Caddying under adrenaline.
Yeah, too much adrenaline. I saw this guy down hanging out on the beach a couple of days ago. Oh yeah, that's it. That's it.
We talked about this before the show, okay? Sacrifice. It's about sacrifice. Come on, Teddy, right here.
Okay, we got three. We got three threes.
Playoff.
Playoff.
One shot, one throw.
One shot. One shot. Okay. Okay. Dave, take that basket and move back to the back.
Hit the driver.
Right there. That's good. There you go.
There?
Yeah, different club if you want. Here you go. You good? Oh, yeah.
Orange, it's been good to me.
Oh, looks good. Yeah. Okay, we're down to two. Down to two. Okay, far ball.
We're going back right.
Back right. Over there. Stand up so he can see you. There you go. I love it. Oh, okay, Bads. Here's your chance. Oh.
All right, I'll go first this time.
Okay.
Switching up the order.
Switching up the order. Oh. They saying yes?
Hit the.
Okay, Frankie.
No, I get another go. You hit the wire.
Oh, it hit the wire. Oh. Ah.
All right, got to fade it around that thing.
Ah, like it. No, not quite. Okay, Frankie, you got a chance to win it right here. It's on the line. Go, Frankie. Go. Come on, take the whole thing right here. Oh, looks good. Yeah! All right, see. There you go.
Let's go.
The Tails Cup right here. Congratulations. You guys with the golf balls, bring those back, would you? You know? All right. Thank you, guys. Great job. Wonderful stuff. I love it. Way fun. And I want to introduce our interviewer now. My friend, my boss, my golf pro, whatever he is. He is a great golfer. He is a great ministry guy. He came all the way over here from La Quinta, California tonight to do this event on his own dime. Brought a bunch of people with him. And you're going to be blessed to hear Jeffrey Cranford interview these guys and talk about faith and life on golf and all of the things that he does. We are just so fortunate that he is here. Please put your hands together for Jeffrey Cranford.
Well, it is so good to be back with you. I love coming over here to Scottsdale. And I don't know how many years this has been. I don't know where Hugh is. I don't know. We started, and I remember Brandel was doing it, and we were over at the site, and trying to get everybody in through the security and all that in that big tent, and it was cold and raining. And Brandel brought the guys up, and I was standing right there on the stairs, and I was freezing. I was supposed to come up. And he forgot to bring me up the entire time until the very end with about 2 minutes left. And he said, oh, yeah, there's a guy standing back in the deal. So thanks a lot, Lewis, for keeping me in the back that long. Well, it's a privilege to be with you. And I'm looking forward to these guys tonight, as always, because it's an opportunity for you not only to talk a little golf. We can talk a little golf. We can talk a little golf swing. We can talk a little bit about the tour. Maybe talk a little bit about LIV. All the things that you kind of read and kind of the whole golf world is interested in. And then segue into a little bit of their journey tonight with the king, the real king. And that's not Arnold, that's the king, that's the real king. And so tonight, thematically, I kind of want to talk a little bit just about their journey. First, golf-wise, and by the way, Frankie, congratulations for your, big win. Youth and inexperience win again, right? So it's amazing to me that Frankie is here because he was just a teenager, and I remember him being out in the audience for all that time and watching these guys, and now you're one of them. It's pretty extraordinary. We've got really somebody in their early to mid-20s. We've got somebody mid-30s. We've got Bad Sarah. You're the guy in the mid-40s now. He's turning, you turned 44 here in March or something like that?
Yep.
Is that what that is? And so we're going to have some unique perspectives. And Teddy, I don't even know what to say about you. You come flying in at the last minute. I'm assuming you were cashing checks at the bank and there was a long line at the bank. I don't know what's going on with you. But let's start back going. Let's start back. We're going to start with Bads. Bads, we've done a lot of these together through the years. And I just want to talk a little bit about your journey with golf. A lot of you may know, but some of you may not. I mean, you were really a prodigy at 17. Talk a little bit about your journey into competitive golf and just a little bit how that evolved.
Yeah, I guess I would say my first love was cricket. Down in Australia, it's a pretty popular sport, and I wanted to be a cricket player. I wanted to play for Australia. Even got my hair cut like one of the players because I just loved cricket. And I had a first hit of golf when I was about 8, but cricket was still my first love. And then when I was about 12 was when I started to focus on golf. 12, 13, told my parents I wanted to quit cricket and take up golf, and they weren't sure about it because I was playing a high-level cricket at that point. And I was like, yep, 100% want to quit cricket and take up golf. So that was like 12, 13. And then by 18, I won the Australian Open.
Okay, so
as an amateur.
Teddy, what do you have to say about that?
Awesome.
Practice.
He beat Greg Norman, too, who was #1 in the world, right? At the time?
I don't know if he's #1, but he finished second at the Masters that year. Yeah.
And second at the Australian Open that year.
Yeah. Yeah, and we had a practice round that week. We had a practice round on the Wednesday, and there was a bunker shot that he was hitting. So I asked him a question about how he was hitting the bunker shot. It was like this high, soft one out of the bunker, and I asked him, when you set up, do you put your hands back a little bit? Do you lower your hands a little bit? Because I was sort of watching him hit, and he's like, yeah, that's exactly what I do. And then so on Saturday, I actually had this tough up and down, like late in the round on Saturday to stay sort of like tight for lead, and did exactly what the Shark did and hit it to like this, got up and down. I was like, thanks, Greg. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a few people that did that with Greg, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so speaking of Greg, he was great to me. Like we had a lot of practice rounds together, and but yeah, going back to 18, won the Australian Open as an amateur. Was fortunate enough to get an invite to the Masters and the US Open that year, which was at Pebble Beach. And so then got to play with Tiger the first 2 rounds at Augusta and Stuart Sink.
So let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, because what is going through your head at this time? Are you just so full of confidence that you're just not smart enough to know that you're really not supposed to be there and not supposed to be doing this kind of thing? No, I'm serious. I mean, I don't say that jokingly. Or was it kind of an overwhelming feeling, or did you really feel like you belonged there?
I would say winning the Australian Open at 18, this might sound bad, but we planned to win that week. That was a goal I expected to win. I was like 6 months before the tournament, we set up a plan to win that week and sort of had step-by-step process to get to that week. Went and practiced at the course about 2 weeks before the tournament, knew the golf course, liked the golf course, and when I got there that week, I just thought I was going to win that week. So that wasn't unexpected, just because my coach was very, very good at setting goals and the steps to get there. And it was never like something's too big or too grand. It was always like, if you can believe it, then let's do it.
But it has to be that way, right? I mean, it just has to be that way. There's just no way you can go in being terrified to tee off and expect to win, right?
100%, yeah.
So just sidebar here, Teddy, I mean, I know with Scotty, I mean, we're hearing all this stuff from his coach, Randy, and all this, and he used to not wear short pants and wear long pants out to the, I think it was Royal Oaks, and he was already acting, walking, talking, thinking, dreaming, tour player when he was, 9, 10, 11 years old. I mean, can you see the carryover in that now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a super confident golfer, and he's very well prepared, as Aaron was saying. In anything you want to be good at in life, right? You got to put the steps and the work in. We see these men on the stage in their greatest, moments, but we don't see all the work and planning and effort and thought that goes into it. And I think most of the guys that get on the tour had a dream to play on the tour, and that's in the forefront of their mind, and they love it, and that's why they do all the work. So unlike me, I didn't expect to win the chipping contest, and I was totally unprepared. So thanks for not asking me about that.
That's good. So that gets you to there. You play in the Masters, you play at Pebble, and then the progression is not just linear, is it? I mean, it takes a little roller coaster after that. Talk a little bit about that, Bats.
So that year was supposed to be the best year of my life, like playing all these events, and then played the 7 PGA Tour events, and then played the Masters, like I said, and the US Open. And then by September that year, I wanted to quit golf. Like, honestly, I wanted to quit because I was miserable, I was homesick, I wasn't playing well. And then, again, going back to what my coach was good at is like, what do you want to do? What's your dream? And we get back to step by step, setting goals, setting the process to get there. And then I win the Australian Open again, and then win the money list in Australia, and win another tournament in Australia again. And then I came back over. Fortunately, I got an invite to Augusta because I won the money list in Australia, and then played the British Open. Didn't play great again that year, but I was in a different spot. I still didn't feel like I wanted to quit the game. I had a better mental. I was in a better mental place, I would say, at that point.
So I know it's often the story. I mean, get out on tour, you're beating up on guys your age. Certainly you were beating up on everybody. But then you start seeing things happen. You see a guy hit it 20 by you. You see somebody pitching it better, hitting it proximity to holes better. And you're like, man, they got something I don't have. Did you start kind of going down some searching paths at that time? Not really?
No, I was more just, I switched coaches to David Ledbetter. And again, same thing, going back. Played the Corn Ferry, or what's now the Corn Ferry, in 2002, and had the process to get to the tour. And then 2003 I got to the tour. My goal back when I was a kid was to be on tour by the time I was 21, and I had a PGA Tour card when I was 21. So I achieved that goal, even though I had a couple of rough years before that. And then played well. The first, 2003, had a great year. Lost to Ernie in the first event. In a playoff, he held a 40-footer on the first playoff hole to beat me. So I had some success early on the tour. Yeah.
So it's a journey, man. I mean,
it's a journey.
An absolute journey, even to this day. I mean,
And then his last few years haven't been quite as good. Like last year was good. 2 years ago was a good year, but definitely been a lot more ups and downs his last bunch of years.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit. So Andrew, you grew up playing golf in Washington, and I met your brother before I met you. Played at Pepperdine. Talk a little bit about your journey. I mean, were you thinking golf when? 10, 11? Were you what?
Yeah, so I grew up in the Northwest, just south of Seattle, and our golf season isn't quite as long up there, so I learned to play pretty much every sport. And I have, like you mentioned, 3 brothers who played golf, loved golf. My dad loved golf, so kind of followed them to the golf course in the summers, and started at, I think, 7 or 8 years old. And my brother got a college scholarship to Pepperdine. I kind of saw how that process went, and I was like, yeah, I kind of want to be like my brother. That seemed like a pretty cool gig. Pepperdine, I went and visited him while he was in college, and incredible campus and everything. And so I started putting in a lot of hard work when I was, middle school, high school. Remember going to the course before school, practicing my putting and all this stuff. So I was pretty dedicated, and was fortunate enough to get, scholarship, followed my brother to Pepperdine. and play 4 years there. And I didn't really know if I had what it took to be a professional. I saw how good my brother was. He was, I mean,
Your brother's a stick.
yeah, he was Walker Cupper. He was, so I didn't really beat him until I was kind of later in high school. So I always felt like I wasn't a very good golfer because I was comparing myself to him. So, yeah, I didn't really, I was kind of up in there. If I'm good enough, I'll try. If not, then I'll go do something else. But I love the game and loved competing, and so
talk about your collegiate career. Was it moderately successful, very successful?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was up and down. I was a All-American my freshman year, and my second year I was gonna be probably second or first team All-American, and I got the driver yips like my last event, regionals, my sophomore year, and it took me probably like 6 or 7 months to work my way through it.
So let's talk about that for a minute. Driver yips. There's nobody out here that's ever had driver yips.
No, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm the only one.
Hitting 3 woods and irons off the tee. But talk about that a little bit. Take me through that process. I mean, that's a journey. I mean, you spend that much time. I mean, I know Ian Baker Finch got there, and there was some wild stuff coming off the tee. Didn't know which way. That's a hard way to play golf.
Yeah, it's a very sad way to play golf, and it's very stressful. I mean, I remember there was a couple times where I was like in tears. I'm like, this is I want to quit. I remember regionals. It happened at regionals, Carson Creek. I don't know if you guys played there, Oklahoma. It's the worst. It's the hardest course visually, and it was just my driver broke a couple weeks before. It was just the perfect setup for this to happen. And I remember, I think I was like 15 over the final round, and just hoping that they were going to drop my score in college. You take 4 out of 5 scores, and my college teammate comes rolling up on a golf cart, and I have like 2 holes left, and we still have a chance to make it to nationals, and his golf bag's on the back of the golf cart, and I look at Chad, and I'm like, Chad, what are you doing? You got to play. My score's not counting. And he looked at me, he said, I lost all my golf balls, so it's on you. And I'm there with the driver yips having to finish out this college event.
Does Michael Beard, who's now the coach at Pepperdine, does he know these stories? I mean, that's got to be one of the most epic stories ever, right?
Yeah, it was epic. Epically bad, but...
Okay, so for everybody, because everybody was like me, I'm like, all right, what got you out of that? Was it a mechanical thing? Was it a mental thing? Was it the equipment thing? What did that look like? I mean, that's a dark thing to come back from. That's a challenging deal.
I mean, honestly, it took 6-7 months. I mean, it just took me hitting like ground zero and just having absolutely no expectations when I got up to the tee where the ball was going to go. And little by little, I was just like, I'm going to dig myself out of this. I'm just going to keep playing, I mean, it felt embarrassing because I was a pretty good golfer, and I was just keep failing over and over and over. And eventually, I just figured it out, and I think a year.
So what was the deal? I mean, were you hitting down on it too much?
I was doing it all. Down, up, it just depended what swing. But yeah, luckily worked my way out of that. And then I qualified for the U.S. Open as an amateur my senior year in college, and that really kind of helped me gain some confidence in myself.
Yeah, you better hit it straight in the U.S. Open, right?
Yeah.
So you get out, you qualify for the U.S. Open, you try to get your card, go to Q school, normal route back then. What was it then? I mean, you had a direct path to the tour.
Yeah, it was the last year to get straight to the PGA Tour.
The last year straight to the tour.
Yeah, so missed Q school my first year by a stroke, didn't get in, so I just kind of chased, Mondays and mini tour stuff. And then the next year got on the Corn Ferry and a couple years there, and then up to the PGA. And I felt like I had a similar experience to Bads. Halfway through the season, I felt like I wanted to quit. Just was like such a miserable. It's crazy how like the first year on tour, you kind of like you finally reach this moment where you've been dreaming your whole life, and you put so much pressure on yourself, and it's like I should be happy, I should be so excited because I finally am here, and then it's a lot of times it's not like that.
It's painful, right? I mean,
it is. Yeah, if you don't have success early, it can get pretty difficult. So I lost my card and a couple more years on the Corn Ferry.
I think about this interviewing Tom Lehman years ago, not here, but a different venue. And he talked about one particular shot that he'd hit that really made him believe that he could play. And it was at Q School. It was actually where I live in La Quinta. Had to hit this shot back, and he thought he had to get his card. Anyway, I've told the story many times because it had such a profound impact on me. Was there a shot? Was there a tournament? Or was it just a kind of a gradual season? Was there anything? Was there any seminal moment maybe where you're like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've been called to do.
I mean, I'd say as an amateur, I had a shot at Pebble Beach in the U.S. Open. It was number 17, par 3, and they had the tee back probably like 220 yards. I think it was 2010. I'm sure you were there. I mean, it seemed like the bank on the bunker was higher, I think, then, so you couldn't really see a green. And I remember in the tournament, like, I'd never played in front of anyone my whole life, and it was like, here I am, and I was on this tee box with, like, I think it was Phil Mickelson, Padraig, and KJ, and they had all won a major that year. And they're sitting there waiting to tee off 4, and I had to tee off 17, and I'm just like, let's just get this over with, because I'm so nervous, and, like, there's so many people watching. And I remember hitting, like, a 4-iron. I felt like I couldn't feel my body. I was just, one of those out-of-body experiences, and I hit it to, like, 5 feet. And that's, like, one of those shots that, like, in my mind, I was like, okay, if I can perform under that pressure, then maybe I got a shot,
That's awesome. That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that, buddy. Frankie, my gosh, man. I was a couple years ago. I was our friend on the links board is here, Hollis. We played with you at Preston Trails. And actually, you and Scotty were on the back hitting balls. We didn't go bother you guys. But we played with Frankie, and I said, man, I knew, he could be a linebacker in the NFL now, but I said, this guy can really move it. But there was a lot of stuff around the green, and then, hey, Frankie, and his dad's here, and part of identity and all this. And then the next thing I look up, and he shoots 58 on the Corn Ferry Tour, and I'm like, what happened here? So, Frankie, talk a little bit about played college golf. Take us a little bit through your journey, even though it's not as long a journey. You're just kind of, in some ways, beginning your journey. Take us a little bit through and what's been going on. Is it kind of cool to be on the stage with these guys?
It is, yeah. I enjoy it. I've been out in the crowd a fair amount in the past, and it's fun to be on this side. But yeah, I was originally born in Minnesota, but been fortunate enough to share a lot of time here in the Valley, and played a lot of football and golf growing up, and similar to Bads, I really wanted to play in the NFL as a young kid, and but I think the older I got, the more I became wise that golf was probably going to be my best option. But yeah, I didn't have quite the college experience that I was hoping for. I spent 2 years at the University of Alabama, and there was a lot of ups and downs. I still have some really good close friends on that team, but ended up transferring to a smaller school in Florida called Florida Gulf Coast, and really enjoyed my time there for 2 years, and then have been on the Corn Ferry Tour for 2 years, and then this is my rookie year on the PGA Tour.
Short journey in some ways, obviously a lot longer than that. But take us through this 58. I mean, that's next level stuff. Take us through the round a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, so it's a great course there in Texas, and it was nice. That tournament, it was great being able to stay at my place there. It's about 30 minutes from where I live now. So it was you guys know with how much we're on the road, it's nice whenever you can sleep in your own bed. So I think that might have had a little something to do with it. But yeah, first hole was actually a drivable par 4, and I made par.
Really?
And then I did, yeah. It was actually a disappointing par 2 because I was up next to the green and didn't hit my best chip and ended up walking off with a 4. Then got on a nice run, made I think 4 or 5 in a row. And ended up missing out birding another short hole as well, and then got close to the turn, and I ended up, I made 4 in a row on the front, and then eagled my 9th hole, par 5, and then just kind of went nuclear from there. I think I was 9 under in the next 8 holes, so started off with an eagle, and then made 7 birdies, I believe, after that. and then still had 2 holes to play and parred the final 2.
When did 59 watch pop into your head? Somewhere mid back 9, or did it ever enter your mind and you just finish off and go, what happened?
Yeah, I think it was funny because I was marking the score, obviously, and then I got to the turn and had this weird feeling and just decided to stop marking for both myself and my playing partner as well. Just because, made the turn at 6 under, and then it was one of those odd kind of out-of-body experiences where it felt like I couldn't miss a shot if I wanted to.
The zone, the proverbial zone.
And I was talking with someone after the round, and I felt like anywhere I was looking, anything outside of exactly where I was looking was really blurry. But I was still very aware of how many under par I was at the time. And, coming down the last 3-4 holes, I didn't want to check. I kind of forgot if it was par 71 or 72, but I did know I was 13 under. So I knew, 2 pars on the last 2 would be 59, and turns out it was for 58. So it was pretty unique.
So you parred the last 2 holes?
Unfortunately, yeah.
He gets in. How'd you shoot 58? He goes, I parred the last 2 holes. That's how. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, brother.
Yeah.
I know probably in years to come when these young guys, Zach and Sam and all their team and the Identity Sports guys, and you'll probably be up here for years to come. But and you'll have more experiences. You'll have your highs and your triumphs and your lows, I'm sure. And but it's pretty cool to see, it's 3 different kind of generations working their way through life out on the tour. And then, of course, you have just the golden child down on the end down here. Teddy, come on, man. Tell us, you talk a little bit about your journey, or you can just talk about your journey this year. I mean, this is, even the last few years, it's extraordinary. I mean, so take us through your journey, your golf world journey. Because Teddy can play, by the way.
A lot like Frankie, I was on fire with the club cleaning and the towel ball washing, and I pretty much blacked out. I got them all right. So we made 8 birdies, and then he doubled the last hole. So yeah, that's pretty much how it went. That's Caddy Talk 101 for those of you that want to get in the biz. Interesting just to even be back caddying again. 3 years ago, Bubba and I decided to split up, and I was done. I was like, you know what? I'm pretty much had a good career, 22 years caddying. And then I got a phone call, and we were just like, well, let's pray about it. And sure enough, Scotty, was the guy that called, and my family, my wife, my kids, everybody said, yes, you're home too often. Let's get you back out on the road. So yes, I don't know who the guy is, but yes. I'm like, did you pray? You sure? I don't think you prayed, honey. But anyway. So anyway, got the job, and right away it was a lot of fun working for Scotty because he's very dedicated to his craft, and I like to help people, but it's hard to help somebody that's not willing to help themselves. And Bubba had gotten to a point where he'd had enough success, and I think he was just kind of tired of doing the work, and I was tired of going to work whenever there's no let's do this together kind of thing. And so it was fresh with Scotty, and sure enough, just a really hungry guy. He loves to compete. He doesn't care about trophies, money, fame. He just truly wants to beat you at anything: pickleball, ping pong, volleyball, cards. I mean, he just loves competition. And for those of you on this stage, if you want a little secret, don't tell him that I said this, but I think his superpower is he loves competition. He doesn't do it for any other distraction other than he loves the moment of me versus you. Oh, we're coming down the last hole. Let's do this. He loves that. And I think when you learn to enjoy that, you were talking about failing a lot. It was embarrassing. That's something that we all fail in life, right? In every aspect of life. As a parent, as a husband, I fail. As a caddy, sometimes I fail as a driver. I'm looking at my phone and I'm off the road. Whatever it is, right? You fail a lot. And so the problem is we take that baggage with us, right? We carry that forward, and we think, well, I failed before, so I guess that's what I am. And I think, what we should be doing is just enjoying the moment right now. Wow, I get to get up and hit this chip. Yeah, my hands are shaking. I don't chip in front of people. I was trying to kill this young guy right here, with a rubber golf ball. But it was this is fun. This is what I get to do. So that's really where Scotty's at, and that's last year was just a banner year. I mean, it was
So
amazing.
let's talk about last year. I mean, really, I mean, this is the year since Tigers 2000, right? I mean, it really is. I mean, this is an out of body. He's in the zone, Frankie, the whole year. I mean, take us through any interesting things, and then I must, on a personal level, either now or later, talk about the orange jumpsuit at the PGA. So let's talk a little bit about that too.
So basically, I would say the first part of the year on the West Coast swing, Scotty was very frustrated because he was having the putting woes, and if you don't know it, everybody tells you about it. It's like, especially when you're playing well, when you're number one in strokes gained every week, you don't have to putt that good and you're in top 5 every week. So it's like after every round, man, it could have been a 68, it could have been this, it could have been that. So there was that pressure that he was putting on himself. And then he hired Phil Kenyon, the putting coach. And, actually before the year started, they were working on changing some things. And it finally started to get more comfortable. And I remember there was a transitional point at Bay Hill where he hit one of the worst putts I've probably ever seen him hit. And I was just like, on the first hole of the tournament, and I was just like, whoa, this is not good, But he regrouped, and he was like, all right, I get another chance. That's the cool thing about golf, right? It's like, all right, here we are again. I sliced the first one out of bounds, but guess what? I get to tee it up, and I get to try this again. So he stepped up on that next one, and he's like, come on, just hit a good putt. And that one went in, and it was like you were saying, maybe I can do this, And that started the process of, the belief that, man, I am a good putter. And when he won Bay Hill, it was like that kind of started, okay, he's won again. When's the last time you won, Scotty? It's been all the way since the Bahamas that you won, it's so easy to win, right? It's like, so that he kind of lowered that narrative. And then, I guess, I don't know if only Tiger had won Bay Hill and the Players, and nobody had won the Players back-to-back, so there was a lot of pressure there. Saturday gets the neck crick, and it just shows how good he is at golf. He's swinging, 60% on Saturday. Ends up winning the Players.
He could not turn his head.
Yeah, I called my wife Friday and said, hey, I'm coming home. There's no way he can play tomorrow. I mean, he literally was like 5 degrees. And, but, the fortunate thing is it was 5 degrees this way. He was a little better, so at least he could see the target. If it was 5 degrees that way, I'd be like, aim more left. That's it, bro. Swing hard. It's water on this one. So momentum kind of creates itself. Once you start doing well, like Aaron, talked about, once you start having that success, you start believing it, and then the only thing that can stop you is making raviolis, honestly. So, or the police in Louisville. Those are the two things that can slow you down. So.
Oh, how I wish we had a picture right now we could put up on that screen, but. So, quick sidebar note, just out of curiosity. Mallet putter, that was a shift, it's a big equipment change. Do you see some pretty good positive shift in that, just from equipment too?
Yeah, so Phil's a very thorough putting coach, and the main reason why they switched to it is because when he set it down, it was aimed where he thought it was aimed. That was it. It wasn't anything to do with how the putter swings or what it looks like. He's pretty much always putted with a blade. It was more, hey, when you're trying to aim right edge and you put this down, it's right edge. So it's like, that's half the battle, right? As you guys know, these guys can stroke the putter. It's if you can get it aimed well and read it well, you got a good chance of making it. So that was really the main purpose behind that.
Well, I remember when Ben Crane, who's been up here too, Ben Crane was, Bad's an unbelievable putter, but Ben was one of the best putters for a number of years, and that's all he ever talked about. He said, I got to get it aimed right. And that was about it. I mean, a good player is already going to understand speed, break, and read, and all that kind of thing. I got to get the putter aimed right. And so let's talk about that from your perspective. Are you with him in the car, or is he driving separate from you, headed to the PGA that early kind of rainy morning or whatever it was? Are you in the car with him? I don't even know the end.
No, we were staying at the house together. It was about a mile down the street, and Scotty has a routine of probably like 3 hours before his round starts, where he's got to eat, do therapy, warm up, do a little exercise. So it's like this whole process, right? So he left way before I did, and it was an early morning tee time. And so I woke up probably, 30 minutes after he had left, and I got to my phone, and a buddy of mine texted me, sorry, man. And I said, it's no big deal. My daughter's just graduating. I know it'd be sad, but I'm happy for her. And he goes, no, man, Scotty. And I said, okay, what? You know, and he said, he got arrested, and I just put, haha. And he said, serious? And I thought, okay, I'm gonna go to X, Twitter, right? And sure enough, it was like, oh my gosh. And then I looked at another text we had, and this was the really scary part, and the PGA had sent out a group text to everyone saying, there's been a death at the entrance. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Scotty killed someone. Like, you know, like, not on purpose, obviously,
a lot
but I
of
mean,
people thought that. That was
I'm putting this together going, wow, he just ran somebody over, and they think he, you know, I don't know what happened, and I'm just going, you know, my wheels are spinning. And so I just called his wife, called his agent, and just, how can I help? How can I get involved? And like everyone else, the story was unfolding, and we didn't know what to expect.
What did Meredith say? I mean,
well, she was like, okay, I'm getting on a plane and coming, you know, because she was in Dallas with their newborn baby. And so she was right away just trying to get on a plane to come, you know, support her man. And meanwhile, the most competitive human being I've ever met was in jail stretching in case he got out to warm up for his round. I'm not joking. He was in jail, and 1 and 2. I'm gonna kick Aaron Baddeley's butt when I get out. You know, so. Like, okay, buddy. You might want to think about some other stuff right now. You're in a heap of trouble.
that had to be one of the best rounds of the year, though. Seriously, to get through that round.
Yeah, I mean, it was, the funniest thing was literally there was a group of people in the 7th hole, like 7 people that had a free Scotty t-shirt on. I was like, how are you, do you own the print shop? I mean, what are we doing here? Like, you know, it's like, how, are you on the 3rd hole? You selling shirts over there? I don't know. It was crazy. It was a crazy day. I mean, I was distracted. I was like, yeah, you know, and Scotty's like, focus. We're trying to beat people. I'm like, oh yeah. And then the next day, I think the prison hangover, I don't know what you call it, but I think it caught up to him the next day because, you know, it was like, now you realize like all the adrenaline's worn off. It's not what's going to happen. Because they rushed him to the course. He had about 20 minutes to warm up, you know, run to the tee, and now you're back in a safe environment. But when you go to bed and all that adrenaline wears off and you start thinking about the magnitude of the situation and what the accusations were against him.
Yeah, this was not settled just because he got out. I mean, this was...
No, it was a lot. I mean, and he told me, you know, right away what happened, and I was just like, wow, that's crazy, you know. But you never know how it's going to be portrayed in the media. You never know how, if the officer's going to say the truth, if there's body cam footage, if there's other witnesses, you know. So it was kind of, the coolest thing was one of our friends, Pastor Brad Payne, gave him some great counsel, and I thought it was amazing. You know, he said, look, man, do the God thing here. Don't go in the media and blast anyone. Just you know, do the God thing here. And he handled it. If you remember any of his interview, it was pretty amazing how well he handled that interview. And looking back, you know, God's plan is always bigger than your plan, right? And that's hard because, you know, what that guy did to him, and I know because I know the story, I know very well how aggressive he was. I mean, he had bruises on his arm. It was crazy, right? For him not to lash out in the media, not to sue, not to pursue that and let God handle it, really showed the glory of God in a way that I couldn't see at that moment.
Profoundly. I mean, profoundly. I will never forget seeing him in that jumpsuit, and it was shocking the second I saw it, and I go, Identity Sports gonna have to pull all that stuff off because, you know, off the web, the YouTube site, and everything.
Yeah, and then Ricky Fowler dressed up as him on Sunday at the PGA. It's weird.
Oh, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. You can't, but you could not even possibly. If you guys sat down and said, okay, we're gonna make the most ridiculous, we're gonna write the narrative of 2024, and we're going to do it's going to be the stupidest thing we're going to win here and here and here, and we're going to get thrown in jail and barely make it to the tee. And you could not, as you look back at the journey of 2024, what stands out? Is there a standout to you, Teddy, from your perspective?
Yeah, you know, once again, I think it's just the amazing ability that Scotty has to stay right here, right now. You know, even you know, looking back, it's like a month later, other than other people joking about him going to prison, it's like, all right, I'm here today. It's a new day, you know, and it's just a really fresh perspective as a human to be able to take that to life, much less as a golfer. You know, like golf is important, but not as important as taking that attitude to life. And so when I look back on 2024, thinking of all the craziness, the madness, but at the same time, the ability to handle the pressure. You know, you think about winning the Olympics. we're going to play 16 majors before we play in the next Olympics. You know, and he was the guy that everybody was like, he's going to win. He's number one. He's hot. He's winning everything, you know. So there's a lot of pressure and all that on, and for him to be able to win the gold medal, you know, it's just like, how are you doing this, man? And so you spend enough time with him and you just realize, you know, he doesn't say, hey man, you want to see my gold medal? Check out my master's jacket. He's just not that guy. He just loves the competition. He loves being present. He literally goes from the course and was like, that was fun. And he's like, food? I love food. And you're like, food? And it's like, oh, there's my baby. There's my sweet wife. Awesome. Oh, have you seen this show? Yeah. You know, you're just like, he's just passionate about life, you know, and I'm trying to learn to be more that way and not get ahead of myself, not live in the past, and just enjoy what God gives you right in front of you, even the trials, you know. So that's what I look back on that year and think of the good, the bad,
That's so
and
good.
It's all good, right?
Yeah,
Romans
it's so
8:28.
So Bads, let's try to kind of have a confluence of these two. So you got your golf journey, and then you've got your spiritual journey. And talk a little bit about your spiritual journey. And obviously there's overlap. You know, we were talking in the car. I came over with a few guys, and we were talking about how easy it is to get your identity so wrapped up in, I mean, any professional sport, but golf specifically, how challenging it is on so many different levels. And you just feel like, you know, I'm popular when I'm playing well, and then when I'm not, I'm forgotten about, I don't get the sponsors invite, whatever. I mean, it's just a million different things. How do you journey through that? And, you know, Bads, I know you, man, you love Jesus. I mean, there's nobody on the tour that is more passionate, more open about their faith than you. Talk about that progression, if you would.
Yeah, so going back to after I won that first Australian Open, and then I wanted to quit the game by September, so like 10 months later. And then my coach said, like, hey, write your goals down, you know? And that's when I got, and so I wrote down some golf goals, but then I also wrote some life goals. And wrote some, I don't remember what I wrote, but in the smallest writing that only I could read, I wrote that I wanted to have a strong relationship with the Lord. And so, and at that point, I would have called myself a Christian. Gave my heart to the Lord. For my whole life, I said 12, and about last year, I found out I was actually 9. I went through I found an old autograph book, and I was 9. So I've been lying this whole time. So, so I was actually 9 when I gave my heart to the Lord. So I would have called myself a Christian at that point, but I wouldn't say I had a strong relationship with the Lord. And then. And then the following year, like I said, came back, played well in Australia, came back over here, didn't play well, but I was starting to walk more with the Lord. And
now, real quickly, was there a catalyst to that? Was there a person in your life?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm playing at Whisperock, and it's in the middle of summer. We just started a new church back in Australia, and I met the pastor once. His name was Pastor Alan, and met him once. Hey, I'm going to America, I'll be back in 9 months, I'll see you when I get back. And so on the 8th hole there, I hook it in the desert. I mean, like I said, middle of summer, so there's no one out there, especially at this time. This is back in like 01, 02, it's just opened up. I'm walking around the desert, and I see my ball, I walk over, and there's 2 feet right in front. I'm like, who's that? I'm like, Alan, Pastor Alan, what are you doing here? It's like, g'day, mate. I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I was coming to check on you. But not really, no. He was just joking. But he was here doing some preaching, and he was playing golf, and he was going down another hole. And like, obviously a God moment. And he's like, there's something more about this. And he ended up taking me under his wing, and he was like my mentor, answering all the questions that like you think that are silly questions, but there really is no such thing as a silly question. You know, like one of the questions I had was like, why do we have to pray if God knows what we're going to say? You know, I mean, you think it's a silly question, but it's a question you need answered, right? And so Alan was amazing at that. He taught me how to write. Like I write a lot now. That's one of it. It's been a huge thing for me is writing. So like so Alan took me through for years, just going through stuff, how to study, how to write sermons. Anytime I was home, I'd be in classes up at church with him and these other leaders and stuff like that. And pretty much from that day on, it's just been a daily walk, just a commitment to daily just get up and spend time with the Lord, whether it's 15 minutes or 2 hours. Like, it's just a daily commitment, and it doesn't happen every day, but I would say it's most days. And I like to rise before my kids get up from when they get up, so that way I've got some quiet time. The kids know where I'm at. And yeah, so it's just been a daily walk.
Yeah. So you mentioned that was a God moment, and he'd kind of come over. He was speaking over here. As you look back over your journey, both your golf journey and your spiritual journey, would you say that God is orchestrating events and has been orchestrating events in your life? And do you see the providence of God in all this?
Yeah, I mean, so I play, I keep my card on tour for, 15 years, 14, 13 years or something. And then in 2015, for whatever reason, I was stressed about keeping my card that year. And this is in April, so November's the time is the cutoff date. And I'm in April, and I tell my coach at the time, Chris Como, and he's not a Christian, but I'd call him, he'd be spiritual, but he's not, I wouldn't call him a Christian. And I was like, man, I'm stressed about losing my card. And he just blank looked at me and says, well, you're not trusting God's plan for your life. I was like, wait, where did that come from? And at that time, I would 100% said, I trust God's plan for my life, But then at that point, I sat back, I remember that night and sort of thought about it. And I would say for the next 3 to 6 months, God really showed me that I didn't actually trust his plan for my life. And I needed to fully rest in what he had planned for me. And so that was April. I was stressed about losing my card. In 2015, I lost my card, and I was at complete peace. It's
which makes no sense.
That makes no sense, right?
No, it makes no sense.
You're stressed about what happened, what does actually happen, and you have complete peace about it. The only way you can talk about that is...
Can I share something with you? Bubba was playing a lot of golf with you back then, and he actually told me, he said, I don't get it. Aaron's struggling, and he just seems so calm and peaceful. So that's a cool testimony that he was picking up on that. I remember that.
I didn't know that.
Well, sometimes people can't see the grace that's in your life until you have to go through a situation where you've got to display grace, right?
Yeah.
It's easy when you're winning every week.
Yeah.
It's only when you're, in a jumpsuit that you need to see, that's when you see people's grace, right?
Yeah. The Bible talks about a peace that surpasses all understanding.
All understanding. Right? And so you've experienced that.
And I love one of a pastor, his quote was saying, to have peace that surpasses understanding, sometimes you have to give up the understanding. So you might not understand what's happening. You might not know, but you get this peace that surpasses all what you can think about.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And Jesus leaves and turns to his disciples, and he says, my peace I leave with you.
Yeah.
My peace. In other words, I'm not so riveted on what's down here. I'm much more riveted on my Father's plans. And as a result, you get peace. You're just confident. So Andrew, have you been, as you look back over your career and you're thinking about your future and where you are now, and you've had some really good years, talk a little bit about your spiritual progression in your life.
Yeah, I was very blessed and fortunate. My parents, grandparents, every one of my family kind of follows the Lord, and I feel like I was kind of born on second base. That's such an advantage, where you're born into a family that everyone is, Christian. I went to Christian school, and obviously I had to own my faith myself. Had those moments and experiences in high school, and I've always been like, man, you grow up in junior high and high school, and you hear all these kids give their testimony, and there's sometimes kids have these wild testimonies, and sometimes you're a little jealous of those stories, you're like, I wish I had a crazy testimony. I don't know, you hear it on stage, but then that was never really me. I had parents who followed the Lord, were faithful, and I married someone with a pretty crazy testimony, and to see what my wife had to work through with her life, with her broken family, now I have kids, and I'm like, okay, I want my kids to have a boring testimony. That's my goal now.
That's good.
lead them in a way that they can have the same story that I had.
So what would be your biggest challenge over the last 5? I mean, if you don't mind, I mean, you don't have to share this, but some of a biggest challenge you have in your spiritual journey. I mean, what?
Yeah, so I got 3 kids now. I got a 5, 4, and a 3-month-old.
Brother, you are in the middle of it.
I mean, the biggest challenge for me, I guess, is trying to manage the time, and I have great people to look up to. Bads has, I don't know how many kids you have now, but 6, 7, 8. I know Rochelle wants one more too. I've heard. I don't know, but I don't know how he does it. Yeah. So I mean, spiritually, trying to lead my family, be a good husband. That's been a challenge. And then playing as a professional golfer, at the highest levels, it's there's a lot to manage, and keeping God number one so that I can lead my family in a way that is worthy of being followed. I mean, that's, yeah.
What Bad was talking about, kind of quiet time, being in the Word, is that vital to your life?
Yeah, I can't always get it right when I wake up because my kids are up at 6 a.m. running in. So it's whenever, whether it's driving in the car or whatever moment it is, that's kind of, I got to take what I can get.
Thanks for sharing that, friends. Thank you. Frankie, I know it's early on. You grow up into a family that loves the Lord, and talk about your spiritual journey so far.
Yeah, much like Andrew, I have, 2 great parents that raised, my 2 sisters and I in the church, and that's something that, I'm very thankful for. And but like you were saying, I think it's really important to kind of make your faith your own. And I think I have this interesting story that I've told a couple times, and I was really struggling. I think I was 12 or 13 and playing in a tournament in Florida, just really not having a great week, and probably was lost in my faith at that age, and just not really understanding why, this game I love to play that I was, so good at when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, why I'm not playing as well as, what I'm used to. And we get to this one hole, and I hit a tee shot probably 60 yards right. I probably had the driver yips back then. So I'm taking a drop, and my playing partners are 70 yards in the middle of the fairway, and I drop my ball and just kind of look up and say, God, help me. If you're there, please show me. And I had about 155, 160 yards. Take out an 8-iron, and I end up making it. And for some reason, I just thought, that ball could have gone anywhere. I could have airmailed the green, could have caught a flyer out of the rough. For me to say those words, and for that to be the result, and I've tried it again before. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't happen like that every time.
And done.
But for him to speak that loudly to me at that time, kind of woke me up, and I realized that he's there for us in the good times and the bad, and maybe it was a tough stretch for me. It's hard to kind of think back exactly to what I was going through at that time in my life, but that's a story that I sure will never forget.
That's powerful. So, when I talking to you guys, and I know some of your stories better than others, but listening to this journey with God, because we talk about that, but then he's like, well, put some bones on that. What does that really look like? I mean, what does it mean to walk with God? What does it mean to have a personal relationship with Jesus? It sounds so strange, like a private friend that you can't see, your magic friend or whatever. But I think the longer you walk, most of the things, you come to an end of it at some point. You kind of come to the end and you go, well, I've experienced that, and it's not all it's cracked up to be. My experience at 61 years old is that I know more now, I believe more now, I've experienced God more now than I could have possibly fathomed at Frankie's age, or even Andrew's age, or even your age. So Teddy, as you've walked with Jesus, and we talk about the providence of God and this experiential, not just blessing you, but taking you through some tough times too, to conform you to his image, right? Talk a little bit about your progression in your spiritual journey not just the highs, but the totality of the journey is really about the glory of God and becoming like Jesus, not just being successful and caddying for the #1 player in the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this year had a lot of tough things off the course that, you know, people wouldn't know about or whatever. And I actually started a golf retreat called Who's Your Caddy? It's a Christian golf retreat we do. This was the second year, and the point of it is when we get to the golf ball, what voice is Scotty listening to? Me. He's like, how far is it? What's it playing? What's the wind? Right? There's one voice that he's paying attention to that he can discuss things with. So I started this caddy retreat, this Who's Your Caddy retreat. Like, what voice are you listening to, right? And the way that we hear from God is through that pastor that speaks a word, through your friend who says, hey, don't do that, through reading the word, through going to church, through things like this. You start hearing the voice of God, and you start going, man, that's really wise, and you start getting the peace that surpasses understanding, and you start going, man, I need more of that. And that's why you know, and I, we're older, we've walked maybe longer with these guys, and you start to realize how important that is. But the cool thing is, this year I was having a really horrible day. I had some really bad news, and I called a pastor friend of mine, and I was talking to him like, dude, I just need you to pray for me. I'm having a horrible day. This happened, this happened, this happened. And he said, is that it? You know, and I was like, yeah. And he goes, man, this is every day of my life I get these phone calls, you know? And I was like, wow, there's a lot of other people who are going through these same type of things. And so one of the things that we started at the Who's Your Caddy retreat is we call it the man in the chair, where you get up and you just share like, man, you know, it looks like we're doing great. We won 9 times this year and the Olympic gold medal, yay. But man, this is what I'm battling. This is what I'm struggling with. But here's how God's using that. Here's where I've learned. And here's how my family has grown closer to each other through that experience. And that's so empowering because, you know, Bads is going through something. You know, Frankie's going through something. Andrew, it's like everybody in this room is going through something. And when you realize you're not in it alone, and when you realize that God will use it for his glory first and for your good. Romans 8:28 says all things work together for the good that love him. Not some things, all things. And so when I look back in my journey this year, I can see, take away all the golf stuff. Look at all the tough things I've walked through, but also look at where we are now and how much his story is unfolding. And, you know, really the story for Scotty was probably Louisville, right? You know, looking back and going, wow, why did I have to go through that? And then seeing a couple months later how well God made him look, how well God made himself look, how well the whole situation ended up being in favor of the people that are doing the right thing. So that's what I've learned this year. Even though we've had a lot of success in work, off the course it's been a tough year, and I'm learning like, man, this is so much more important for me to depend on God because he's the one that gives the peace, not the circumstances.
So when you guys look back, as we kind of conclude this evening, as you look back over your lives, was the biggest progress in your life in the events that you were, in the seasons that you were, everything was going great, bank account was good, making cuts, everything's going your way, or was the biggest progress you made in the darkest times? Bads?
I would actually say both.
Okay, explain.
Because there's different seasons of life. And just because things are going well doesn't mean that's an easy season. And just because things are going bad doesn't mean it's a tough season. That it's easy to, when things are going well, to start relying on yourself a little bit or thinking it's about you. But to go through those times when things are going well, and to be able to just to spend time with him and just praise him and thank him, because it's not about you, and it's just being able to have that ability. And
that is liberating, right?
Exactly.
I mean, when you realize it's not about you, you would think, oh, that's terrible. My life's going to fall apart. It frees you.
It frees you up. Exactly,
right? It's a paradox.
So like to be able to like have that way, you can just literally just be like, thank you so much for this and that, and like, you know, be able to worship him because of who he is, not for what he's done for you, but just for literally like who he is and what he's done for you in the sense of freeing you from your sin and saving you. Like when things are good, like that's great, but then when things are bad and struggling about certain things, there can be other parts of your character that he's working on. So both sides of it can be a lot of progress. It just depends on how you react to spending time with him every day, how you spend time, how you see things, and then how you worship him, basically. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Anybody else got something you want to add to that? Andrew? Pretty good. That's what Sam Burns said when we had Scotty up here. He goes, anything to add to that? Nope. Got it covered. Frankie, any closing parting shots for you?
I think one thing for me when you tell that, I had a conversation with my dad the other day, and one thing that a sentence he said that stuck out for me was, things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. Good, bad, whatever it may be. I think there's been a lot of things in my life that have happened that, maybe at the time they might not have turned out the way I wanted to, but, flashbacks or 6 months down the road, I look back and think, man, that's one of the best things that ever happened to me. So I think that's something that's just very interesting.
And you have to walk through it. You have to experience that. And the more you do, your faith grows. Or you take the other route and go, I'm getting the raw end of this deal. I don't believe in God because I'm getting the raw end of life. And God wants you to experience him. Teddy, thoughts about this year? Anything else? I mean, wow, what a year 2024 was. Can't wait to watch what unfolds for you and your family. And yeah, give us any parting shots.
Yeah, I think, when you look at someone who's successful at anything, there's a process that Aaron talked about, right? And one of the things that I see in Scotty is how well he executes the process and how he doesn't leave anything to neglect. It's not like, well, I'll chip later, or next week I'll chip. It's like, no, we're gonna work the process. And what I'm learning with this tough year is that when I work the process of getting up in the morning, reading my Bible, praying, being still, being quiet, listening to worship music, man, I'm so successful spiritually. Not me, but it's like all the burdens kind of start to dissipate, right? But when I'm not working the plan, when I'm not doing the process, then it's like stress, worry, all these things, right? So I think for me, that's what I look back on 2024 and go, dude, there's a formula, and it's not that hard. Just put your hand to the plow, and God will totally bless you,
Yeah, I mean, going on that, because it's not a legalistic thing, is it?
No.
It's not like, if I don't do this, I'm going to get in trouble. It's a you wanting to spend time with him, and it's a discipline, and you do see the fruit of it, So I love that. It was awesome.
Awesome. Well, maybe you're out there tonight, and a lot of people, certainly a demographic in the golf world, I think all of us run into them. You see, I gave up a long time ago on the idea of a soul or a spirit. These guys are talking about their spiritual journey. I don't even believe in the spiritual realm. I don't believe that there's anything outside of the material realm. I want you to stop and just have this one thought. If the only thing that exists is the material realm, then you think you're making volitional decisions, but you're really just atoms circulating in some form that are already predetermined. You're just responding to physical laws. We just perceive relationships and perceive this experience of understanding and all this. It's the material realm is the least liberating. You think you're liberated by not believing in the spiritual realm and that you come under this, whatever this God is, but it's actually the opposite. If you're a materialist, what you're really believing in is that you have no choices. You have no volitional decisions to make. These men have said, we've made volitional decisions. We look back and see God's fingerprint on it, but we still make volitional decisions. Some of you have an opportunity tonight, and I think you've heard it from everybody. Our lives are all this way. They're up, they're down. Some have great testimonies, meaning, it seems kind of exciting. I think the great testimony is Frankie and Andrew. I would love to have a testimony like that. Unfortunately, mine's plagued with a lot of selfishness and sin and pride. But the Lord loves us all. He loves you. But there is a volitional decision to make to enter into that relationship. So I'm going to ask Teddy if he wouldn't mind. Maybe you want to enter that tonight. Tonight could be a night that could change not only your eternal destiny, but change the kind of life that you lead now. You could walk into a kind of peace over the coming years that you just couldn't fathom. And you say, I don't even know that that's possible, but somehow you just have faith tonight that the Jesus these guys are talking about, that these guys have experienced, is the same Jesus that, well, you could walk with, that you could have a progression with, that you could have a journey through life with, that you could have a caddy. When you get to any situation, what's the wind doing? What club should I hit? Tell me, this relationship they're talking about. So sometimes it starts as simple as just a prayer, and I want Teddy to close us and maybe leading some folks in that prayer. Would you mind doing that, buddy?
Sure. Lord, thank you so much for this awesome testimony tonight, these men up here on this stage, Lord, that we just point all the glory and honor to you, Lord. We really can't take credit for our success, because even the great skills that we have, Lord, whatever skills that is, you've given it to us. You've created us to perform, Lord. So I pray that that these men on this stage would go this week and that they would perform for an audience of one, not for man, Lord, but for you. And tonight, we know that there's people out in the audience right now that are pondering you, Lord, pondering, are you real? Pondering whether they should ask you into their heart, Father. And I just pray right now for those people that are feeling that are thinking that, Lord, that they would have the courage to ask you, to ask you humbly, Lord, are you real? And if you are, show yourself to me, reveal yourself to me, Lord. Come into their heart, Father, and become part of their life. I pray that you would just guide these people, Lord, surround them with the right folks, get them the knowledge, Lord, from your word, get them involved in a church, Lord, where they can start spending more time with you daily and get around people that are walking with you, Lord. And I just pray that you would reach out to these people and give them a strong urge, give them a strong nudge, Lord, to follow you as their Lord and Savior. And we just thank you once again for this incredible opportunity to hear these men speak tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Great. And I'll say this. Again, I want to thank Lewis Greer on our Link staff. You've just done an extraordinary job with this over the last number of years. I know this is your last year, so thank you, Lewis. As we turn it, as I know as he kind of turns it over to Zach and Identity Sports and these young guys, I just love seeing the passion and the grace that these guys walk in. So I know a lot of your board and your teams are here. So Identity Sports, Links is your partner, and we believe in everything you're doing, and we're very excited about the future of everything you put your hand to. So put your hand together one last time for all these guys coming out.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Stop by the tables on your way out. God bless you. Remember, Tales from the Dugout is February 18th. You come back here. And thank you all for coming.